Hello, my name is Clara, and along with my colleague Monica, we would like to present our Create Lithuania project towards a high-value bioeconomy, strategic policy options for the national bioeconomy strategy. This was a project that we worked on at the Ministry of Economy and Innovation. Before I will get into the more details about our project, I would like to introduce our conceptual framework. So, what is the bioeconomy? The bioeconomy refers to the sustainable production of renewable resources and the recycling of those resources and waste streams into value-added products, such as food, feed, bioenergy, and other bioproducts. Essentially, the bioeconomy is a subsector of our greater economy. It is comprised of 4 pillars. You can see on the right, these include ecosystem condition, primary production, secondary production, and waste and circularity. As our project is titled Towards a Higher Value Bioeconomy, it's important that we answer what is a higher value bioeconomy. As we see it, a higher value bioeconomy is when raw materials are put together in combination with technology to create higher value added products. So, for example, you see here a low value iteration of the bioeconomy would be using sugar beet or starch byproducts for animal feed, a low value added final product. However, to get to a higher value bioeconomy or a higher value product using the same materials, you could, for example, implement enzymatic processes to convert these materials into bioplastics and platform chemicals. Why is the bioeconomy important? The bioeconomy is important because it's a strategic growth engine and a green motor for Europe. What does this mean? This means that it drives forward Europe's competitiveness and it helps implement more sustainable solutions. In doing so, it builds the resilience of Europe and makes for a more crisis-proof economy. A more resilient Europe is also a more resilient Lithuania. The bioeconomy in Lithuania is a key driver of economic growth, and notably, the bioeconomy is also grounded in agroeconomy. The agricultural sector holds the largest share of GDP and the labor market in Lithuania. It also accounts for the largest share of biomass, and it receives the most policy funding support. The main challenge is that the agricultural sector remains oriented towards low value added activities. This is very evident in grain. Grain is a major sector in Lithuania with minimum value added. This is because most of the grain in Lithuania gets exported as a raw material. In 2023, for example, 71% of the grain harvest was exported, and in 2018, only 18% of outputs from mills were processed into products. So, why does this challenge exist? We identify 3 main bottlenecks which explain why Lithuania is trapped in this low value added orientation in the agricultural sector. These being a limited strategic direction, a lack of technological infrastructure, and a general resistance to change. All of these bottlenecks prevent the higher value added transition of grain into more valuable products. And as a result, we see the article on the right where Lithuanian farmers are burning their grain and selling it as fuel instead of being motivated to transform it into higher value added products. This brings me to our project's objective, which is to identify policy and support measures designed to foster the industrial upgrading and value-added transformation of raw materials in Lithuania. Essentially, we want to find ways to prevent farmers from burning this grain and to motivate them to transform this into a higher value-added material. My colleague Monica will continue and explain more of our method for doing this.
For the good practices, we also looked beyond Lithuanian borders, and a couple examples include public procurement in Spain or France as well, and also really great focus on biorefineries that we know poses a value of depth really in innovation poses a great threat to innovation all across different ecosystems. And there were especially two great practices that we really focus on and we also used in our action plan. So here we traveled to Finland, and there actually they had very interesting approach where farmers, industry, research, really everyone met and they decided to build their own cluster. So they really focused to make grain more valuable, and they really helping each other very successfully so far. So it's such approach is really cluster based rather than governmental based. But then we traveled online to Malaysia, and they had the opposite approach of this. So there in Malaysia, they created Bioeconomy Corporation, which basically has many different support systems and financial tools. But when we asked them what was the most effective as a tool coming from the government, they clearly suggested that it was the targeted financial incentives especially. And here we see across many different good practices that clear owner, cluster, and value chain logic, as well as targeted financial instruments, are a clear way to success. To test our ideas and as well to see whether our suggestions would be practically applied in Lithuania and can be, we held a public consultation, and it was a targeted bioeconomy consultation that we made, and here we met with very different stakeholders really throughout the project, and I'm very happy to say that we saw really great success, as on three key elements everyone agreed throughout the value and supply chain. So on one side we see that everyone agreed on that in bioeconomy in Lithuania we should focus on grain and agrobiomass. The second part was that we really need a national coordination initiative. And the third part, everyone agreed on, we need targeted financial incentives. So with the learnings from the across borders of Lithuania, as well as input from our stakeholders, from public consultation, we created a proposition for a bioeconomy action plan to address the main concerns. So one of them is a suggestion to create a working group that works specifically on biomass valorization and creation on higher value bioeconomy. So this would be a national coordination initiative. Secondly, as we heard, the target financial incentives is at utmost importance. So here we really suggest that this working group could really start with this approach. And finally, we can see in the future if the further need is there, this first working group can develop in a full bioeconomy valorization office. And this 6-month project at the end was really short, but we did learn some really valuable lessons. We learned that Lithuania really focuses on primary production and the funding as well as creation. And here we also learned that there is a wish and need for coordination and targeted industrial support. And also, I think the most important thing that Lithuania has the biomass and has the opportunities. We just need to focus more on value chain depth.